Hi, and welcome to our chat today. I'm here with Steve Nobel, and we are going to be talking about the moon matrix. Welcome to Ascension and 5D Chat, where we discuss what is happening with our planet's ascension journey. I am Rachel Chamness. I help lightworkers connect to their spiritual helpers and light path. Thank you so much for coming on my show. I'm really excited.
Pleasure. Thanks, Rachel, for inviting me.
This is Steve Nobel. He is an author and healer, and you can find him at thesoulmatrix.com. And you should definitely check out his YouTube channel, which I'll put below, full of beautiful meditations and, really quite well known. So probably doesn't
Including
need.
moon matrix reversal.
Yes. So the moon matrix reversal is the meditation. Don't.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to do with the gravitational pull, so don't freak out. But we are talking about the moon matrix. Okay, so you have this beautiful meditation called the Moon Matrix Reversal Meditation, realigning your energy bodies to the Solar-Gaia circuit. It's on all kinds of channels and on your webpage, on YouTube, and on SoundCloud at least. I've seen it.
Yeah.
And it's so profound. And when I did it, I was like, whoa, this makes so much sense to me, because I just thought I was so resistant to actually doing anything with the moon. Every time it was like, put out your crystals or I did a few of the new moon manifestation, but that was about it. And I was really just not into it. I've always put my crystals out in the sun instead. So when I watched that, I really just was like, this is it.
Yeah.
So
nobody's interviewed me on this before. They've all
I'm
gone,
so
no, we don't want to
excited.
look at that. No.
No. I want to look at all the weird stuff on this channel.
Good.
And
Good.
it is hard. It is hard because we have such a real connection to the moon. We have our, of course, if you're a woman, you have your menstrual cycle, and it's a beautiful object in the sky. It affects us in many ways. So I really wanted to talk about why, because I think people are unclear on why some of us don't really want to connect with the moon in that way, and some of us do.
Well, let me tell you how it started. Well, I trained in magical systems for a few years, Wicca and shamanism. And in shamanism, the Native Americans kind of give lovely names to the moon. There's this moon and that moon, and it's all very beautiful. And is it grandmother moon they call
Grandmother
it?
moon. Mm-hmm.
And then in Wicca, the goddess is aligned with the feminine energy, and the goddess is about the moon, and all of that. And the moon is a powerful field, for sure. So for 10 years, I worked with manifesting with the moon. The cycles. So in magic, you can work with the cycles of the moon, which is as the moon's growing, it's manifesting. Full moon is powerful for manifesting. The waning moon is for releasing and purging, and the dark moon is for sitting with your shadow and all the stuff you need to look at. And I did that for years. I did all kinds of rituals. One or two of them, I remember one ritual, making a prayer stick, which was a Native American ritual. And you put it in the tree so the sun's rays release the prayers in the morning. And I also, because I was trying to be clever, I aligned that with the Wiccan thing of the moon cycle. So when the moon was growing, I put it in the tree, let the sun hit it in the morning after the full moon, and it would release. And it was all, all this manifesting, and it worked, manifesting would happen. But then one day I started to get sick, and I was like, oh, what's happening? And I realized I forgot my stick in the tree. And I'd left it there in the waning moon, and I started to get sick. And I'm like, oh, so if you forget the stick in there, up there in the moon's energy affects you potentially negatively. That was a kind of eye opener for me. And I took it down. I started to get better immediately. I was like, oh, okay. So the other thing about that is when I worked in this anarchic feminist witchcraft group. And I was one of the organizers. Can you imagine trying to organize anarchic feminist witches? Me and a few other women. And it was hard work. It was like herding cats, and I thought, why am I doing this? This is hard work. And there was always issues in the group of organizers, always angst. And I remember saying to them, why can't we just have an easy flow? What is this ongoing kind of argumentative. And then the one argumentative person kind of left, and I'm like, hey, they've left. And then somebody else took the energy of let's have arguments and let's be difficult. And I'm like, eventually, I mean, after I left, I realized the energy of the word lunacy relates to the moon. And I did see a lot of lunacy in this system. There was a lot of beauty, a lot of fantastic creativity, a lot of wonderful things that was happening, but there was still an element of lunacy. And I was like, why is this? So that was one of the things that I came to. And it took me a while to really sit with this. Alice Bailey, who was probably one of the first channels in the 20th century, was channeling Dwal Kul, this Tibetan master. The books, if you read the Alice Bailey books, they're very antiquated, old British Empire, you know, it's all lovely, wonderful, old occultic stuff. And in there, the channel warned about the moon, said the moon is a kind of darker energy. It's an empty rock. What people are thinking they're connecting to, they're not. That kind of, I can't remember exactly what Alice Bailey was saying, but it was kind of like, beware the moon type of thing. And I read it thinking, oh, well, I don't know. I'll just put it in the back burner and think about it. I came across another system, the template. And this is when I was really starting to really wake up. And they talked about the baleful energies of the moon and we should disconnect from it. And I started to connect all the dots together. And I started disconnecting from them, not using the moon at all, disconnecting consciously and connecting with what I call the Solar-Gaia circuit, which is the sun and earth. And this is the true current between the body. You know, it's what really flows through the body. And the sun itself is a stargate for other energies, which are higher. I mean, the energy of the sun has always been worshipped almost. If you think of God, a lot of religions have almost looked at the sun as the highest energy in the system we can think of. And that's the one we can connect to. And I've always had such a wonderful feeling with the sun. And then the central sun behind that, the Pleiadian sun, and then the great central sun behind that, the Sirian sun. It's almost like the universe is a number of systems revolving around suns that revolve around another sun and revolve around another sun. So all the way back to the center of the universe. And so if you want to know God, follow the suns, all of them, all the way back. And so I've been working with this Solar-Gaia circuit, and I've been doing it privately. I just kind of publicly, I never said anything. I had a friend who said he was really badly affected by the moon. And I'm like, well, yeah, okay, well, I gave him some processes. It kind of helped a little bit. And then I had an email from a woman saying, my daughter is so badly affected by the moon that she can't sleep. It's really difficult. I also feel it's difficult. And then I thought, oh, maybe it's time to come out publicly. So I created this moon matrix reversal. And what I said in there was, this is kind of nothing to do with the gravitational pull, which you've flashed up, because people are going, yeah, but what about, you know, we need the moon for the tides of the earth and all this. And I'm like, it's got nothing to do, anything close to the earth would have a gravitational pull. It's not about that. And I've kind of said, well, look, I'm not going to comment really a lot on the menstrual cycle. My partner really wants to disconnect from it. She's having a lot of trouble and she's been using it and she's really trying to clear it out. There are some channels that say that the natural female cycle is aligned to the sun and not to the moon. Because if you look at one of the biggest problems on the earth, one of the biggest problems is women are fertile every month. And basically can get pregnant practically any time, you know, within reason. A lot of animal cycles are not like that. They have these cycles of, you know, lambs come in spring. You know, it's like there's a time when beings are born in the animal world. And so if the female cycle was aligned to the sun, it would mean that there's a period of potential pregnancy that's only how long in the year. I'm not quite sure how long it would be, but it's not like every month you have to go through this. You know, I think it's not pleasant when I see it. You know, no. when I probably remember from somewhere, it doesn't look pleasant. It doesn't seem pleasant. No one goes, "Yay, my period's here!" It's, wow, no. Whoa. And so I think part of the ascension process, which is to come, we're not there yet is how bodies are changing from carbon to crystalline,
Yeah.
3D dense, heavy to crystalline. And what that will mean would be a lot of changes in the body. The way we eat is already, people are having changes in the way they eat. I can't eat the same way as I used to eat. So that's one of the things. The menstrual cycle eventually further down the line, I believe, will change and will align more with the sun and less with the moon. So the moon to me is a problematic energy, because I feel it's where a lot of lower astral beings can kind of come in. And when people are feeling, hey, we're working with the moon, you can be working with some lower beings which are not that high vibrationally. If people know what the astral plane is, you can go there in your dream state. It's lovely, and it can be nightmarish. You can have all kinds of weird stuff happening there, and you can get beings who can masquerade on the astral plane as enlightened beings, angels. And a lot of people think they're meeting these beings and, hey, they're wonderful, but actually they're not, which is why a lot of channels are a bit off. When you hear not every channel is really clear. There are a lot of spiritual teachers which are really like, what are they on? I've met a few, like, I call them grey magicians. They think they're the bee's knees. They're here to save the world. But actually, a false light being, a false light teacher, is someone who has ego issues around money, power, sexuality. Maybe they get very angry and judgmental if they're challenged, all of these things. And that's a sign that they're interfered with, I think.
I think so,
the moon is one of those energies. People start willy-nilly connecting with the moon. I still find astrology works. I don't really know, but the moon signs seem to be accurate. Like when I look at astrology, I think, well, it still seems to work. I'm a Pisces moon, and I seem to be aligned with all the things they talk about in Pisces moon. So I'm not quite sure. There's bits of the puzzle I'm not 100% sure about. But one thing I do know is I feel so much better breaking away from the moon. The other thing about the moon is it's probably not a natural object.
It is definitely not a natural object. No.
Yeah, I just say probably because people are going, wow, where's your science? Show me the proof. Show me the PhD. And
it's perfectly circular. I mean, that should be enough.
Yeah. Wasn't there something that when the Apollo landed on it, it rang like a bell?
It rang like a bell. Mm-hmm.
And scientists were like, that's not normal.
I think it was 24 hours.
Was it 24 hours?
I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong.
There are whistleblowers saying, there's one whistleblower, Corey Good, talks about this, that it's not a natural object, and it was actually brought here a long time ago by creator beings in the universe, and the moon has been used, and it continues to be used as a base for various beings, actually. Mm-hmm. And I think it's probably true. I think it's probably true. And the other thing I think is probably true is the deep state, which in America you're very familiar with, I think, over there, because you've got, I think the Illuminati, deep state, cabal were very connected to the British Empire at a time because they like power. They have their fingers in the power. They liked all the British Empire. But then when the British Empire started waning, they kind of jumped over to America going, hey, this is where the power is. Yeah. Let's come over here.
It feels like the base is here.
Yeah, you've got the worst of it, I think.
Really?
Yeah, you've got the worst of the deep state. It's not that they're not over here, but all of the power players in America, because you've got the military and you've got that power, and so they want to use that for their own purposes. And over here, politics is not much better than America, but it is a little bit better than America. When I look at the American politics, I think, oh my God, I thank God I'm not in America.
It's a mess.
I couldn't be dealing with all of that,
Now I have divorced myself from all of the politics.
Messy. It's all messy. So all of this moon stuff, the deep state, I think, have bases on the moon as well. They have the kind of technology that can, apparently, they have a lot of these sources that are seen are deep state sources. So the moon is not what we think. It's not this lovely jewel in the sky. It's probably a satellite. Magically, it's not a good idea to connect with it. And energetically, a lot of women are doing all kinds of stuff with the moon. I think the problem is if you do anything magical with the moon, you're opening yourself up to problems.
I think so too.
That's my one thing I'm certain about, because I've done it for 10 years. And so I know doing it for 10 years, I can say, rather than probably it does, because I've felt it and I've worked in it and I've seen it. Working with the sun and the earth. And if people want to connect with the goddess energy, connect with the sun, connect with the earth. The goddess is found in the sun and the earth, rather than the moon. I don't give it a go and see where your natural current is on the earth. We're standing on the earth, and we need to ground into the earth and go to the sun and just see the difference that it makes. There's a lot of solar goddesses, Isis had the solar thing above her head, and there's the Japanese solar goddess, what's her name? I forgot her name now. There's lots of solar goddesses, actually. And the moon is problematic. The other thing that might interest you is that this is controversial for anyone with a religious background. So, that in Islam and in Judaism, the deities they worship as God were originally moon gods in the tribal cultures of those countries before. So for example, in Islam, Allah was a moon deity, and who had some sisters who were solar goddesses. Apparently, people who have studied this have gone into the history of it. I'm trying to think of her name. That's Allah. It might be Alat, the solar goddess. And there's a thing called what was that? There was a book written some time ago on it. Salman Rushdie wrote a book called what was it? Which set the Islamic world in arms. Because basically in this book he said the satanic verses, or was it something like the satanic verses or something? I can't remember the name of it now. He said that, because apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently Allah originally said the solar goddess is equal to the moon and Allah, and it's all wonderful. And then he recanted. He said he was influenced by Satan, and he crossed that verse out, and he put the satanic verses, was it, or something, I think they called it. And when he wrote the book, he was condemned by Islam as being a heretic, and they put this fatwa on him to kill him, because how dare you say these things. But originally, apparently, the prophet recanted and said, no, the solar goddess is of the spawn of Satan, and papa, out she goes. And and in Judaism as well, if you look at Judaism, the goddess has been banished. The goddess was banished. The great whore of Babylon, all of the prophets talking about the great whore of Babylon, was the goddess, actually.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah. So, it's not a very nice title for her, but all of the old Sumerian goddesses and that were banished, and it's all the masculine,
And
Yahweh, the God, and everything.
The Persian goddesses too were all banished, or they were turned into something totally different, like obey your man, sort of. When I looked into them, I was like, this can't be right.
Yeah, if you look at the Indian pantheon, because India was invaded by the same invaders, or the same the Aryan invaders that invaded Greece, and so in Greece, a lot of goddesses were booted out, or some were booted out, or they were subdued or married, and made, like Hera. In Greece, the oldest temples in Greece are those to Hera. She's the original goddess, and Zeus is much later. And then she was
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the temples of Zeus are earlier. And she was turned into this jealous wife. Because
right, Zeus, and I have connected with her, and she is nothing like that. She's amazing.
That energy is nothing like that. And Zeus is kind of philandering off, screwing everyone left, right, and center, doing all of that.
Well, so was Zeus.
What?
It was Zeus, don't forget.
Yes. And so she was this angry, jealous wife, or whatever. And in Greek mythology, I think the Greek myth which shows the banishing of the feminine was the Medusa myth. Because Medusa was this beautiful young woman, served in Athena's temple, was celibate, was raped by the brother of Zeus, and rather than Athena being angry with the brother, banished her to be this evil demon. And she held, I think that myth holds a lot of the rage of the feminine, actually. So if you think of all of the myths, the moon is feminine and passive. and it's passive, and the sun is active and dynamic, and all of the gods were linked in the more recent myths were male with us, Apollo and Helios and all of these kind of dynamic, and so the myths of the world have been changed, actually.
Yeah.
And if you research the myths, I'm really interested in the myths of the world. They've been changed to adapt to the patriarchal system. So the patriarchy that came in, with the sky gods, it was all about sky. It's all about transcendence. So the god of Christianity is a kind of an absent Victorian landlord who throws thunderbolts like Zeus. If you don't like you get blasted by the thunderbolts. It's kind of Zeusian, isn't it? Like you get blasted. But he's not here. He's not immanent in the world. He's just there judging people, good and bad. It's just such a weird, disconnected
it is. It's
theology.
definitely been changed. And even before I knew that, I remember I connected with Medusa and she says, I was misaligned. And I was like, what? And then I went and found all that, what you just talked about.
Yeah.
I have connected with many goddesses of light, and they often say they are in moons, suns, and stars. And I often see gods or goddesses or these kind of moon beings or sun beings or star beings in other systems. And but these moons they're not like our moon. So when I see that, and a long time ago, this is a long time ago, and then I looked at the moon, there was nothing there. There was nobody in it. There was no being of light,
Yeah, there's no beings there. But yes, there are beings, lower astral beings.
Well, yeah, nothing of light.
No.
And then I connected with Diana. I could swear I remember that she was the goddess of the moon. And she says, I am not the goddess of the moon. I have nothing to do with this moon. I'm the goddess of the wild hunt. And then you can't even find anywhere where it says that she's the goddess of the moon anymore. No. It's very interesting.
She was a fierce goddess. You wouldn't want to, wasn't that the one that the guy who looked at her while she was bathing naked and got ripped to pieces? She turned him into a stag and he got ripped to pieces. Some of these goddesses were a bit fierce, but then they came from fierce cultures. So it's like, it's all right. We can go. They didn't sit down. Let's talk about this. Let's rip him to pieces. How dare you look at me? But that's the kind of cultures they were like. Aphrodite, who is a beautiful Venus love goddess, was worshipped in Rome as also the goddess of war.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wondered about that.
And the Romans sacrificed to her, blood sacrifices. I remember once 6,000 prisoners were just, slaughtered to her because they wanted Aphrodite or Venus to help them be victorious. And so yeah, I quite like. I'm Libran, so I like the Venus energy. I don't really connect with that. So I think they kind of bolted that onto her. I don't think she's naturally that way inclined. But
I think the Venus energy has a lot about high dimensional or dare I say fourth dimensional love. So like the other side of fourth dimension of coming in your heart space and finding love for yourself and everyone.
Yeah, I think, well, Venus, the planet Venus has got 6-dimensional races connected to it. You can't see them from a 3D telescope, but in other dimensions, a lot of Venetian races. I haven't done anything with them yet, but I do feel a Venetian transmission needs to happen because there are lots of beautiful races on Venus. Very, very lovely.
I've been planning to connect with them in February myself. I hope it lines up. Yes.
Oh, why February? What's happening in February?
Oh, well, just every month I pick some light beings to connect to with my monthly group tag. So this month is Avalon, or is it December yet? December is Gaia and Earth Goddesses, and then January is Emerald Tablets, Thoth, and I think that February will be Venus.
Oh, cool. Well, I go to Glastonbury twice a year to run retreats. I was there when was it? October, was it? I think I was there in October, and I'm going back there next April, May, and then again October. I put the retreat up and it's sold out within like 2 weeks. Generally, people love Avalon. Is so fantastic.
It's beautiful. We've really been diving deep into it this month, and
I buy all my crystals here. I got this beautiful necklace, which is Moldavite, Herkimer diamond, and ruby, which is really I'm close now again.
Now you can show us. That's beautiful.
This is one of my favorites. I could put that on. And I've got I bought a very expensive Moldavite Tektite necklace there. Cost me nearly $1,500. So it was like, eek, it's expensive, but I love it. Oh, let me walk around the block. Let me think about it. And I had to have it. I also got this in this Avalon. It's a black diamond ring. Oh,
Ooh,
black
that's
diamond ring.
beautiful.
And this one is my Moldavite ring.
I love that.
Yeah, also
really
from
neat.
Avalon.
Wow.
All my jewelry, most of it, nearly all of it's from Avalon. Yeah,
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place. It's nearly the high street's taken over by crystal shops. Everywhere you go, every third shop's a crystal shop.
That's
which
perfect.
Is great.
Well,
Yeah.
for people who want to disconnect from the moon matrix, I mean, I guess we would say do your meditation. But if you have any other tips.
There is a channel called Barbara Marciniak that also talked about she talks about the moon as part of the control grid, which I haven't mentioned that, but the control grid of the planet. So this planet has been a dark planet for a long time, and there's been a control grid. Basically, the control grid is keeping all the beings on the planet in a low vibration. And that she reckons, or the Pleiadians who she channels, says that the control grid is now being punctured like a Swiss cheese, and it's not really this, because all these masters and beings and starseeds are coming in. And the moon is part of that control matrix. And she says that's part of the control center of the whole thing. And so that's another reason why, if you want to escape from the control matrix of this 3D planet, you must disconnect from the moon. And the sun holds much higher codes, much higher light codes. So if you are still working with the moon magically, then you're going to find it hard to disconnect from the suffering of this world. That's my opinion and my experience.
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of people do have such a hard time disconnecting from that. They're so, and of course we have a lot of societal pressure too. We're empaths. We feel it's horrible what's happening, and we can get really stuck in that. It causes a lot of depression for empaths, I think.
Yeah, it does. I think the energies of the moon can be very heavy, as the energies of the collective can be heavy, and especially at the moment with all of the situation, let's say, which is generating fear. It's interesting that in England, for example, in the war, Second World War, and in post-war troubles with IRA, keep calm and carry on was the British mate. Keep calm, carry on. Bombs blowing up, but keep calm, it's all right. Now there's something that looks like a bit like the flu. Red alert, Mac, everyone's gone mental, which is so not the British way, it's so not the British way, or any, anyone. And it just looks like all the control structures are pulling all the strings through the politicians. And you can see the dark wizards behind the curtain now, like the Wizard of Oz. You can see who's controlling all of this, and if there is a group of people controlling the world through money and corporate strings and everything, and you just go do some research, and you can see it's there. It's very easy for them to pull strings. Bill's throwing money everywhere to back his and I mean, even over here, NHS. There was someone told me recently there was a skeptics group who wanted to debate the and there was all this debate going on, and at the end of it, the organizer someone said something that must have shocked him about transparency, and he went, "Oh, well, I should tell you, for transparency's sake, we've been given like $2 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to host all this stuff," and we're like, "Right, and so you're neutral, aren't you?" At least he came out and said it. A lot of people are not saying it, really. He's heavily invested in. He's on camera saying he's multiplied his investment 10 times. But I don't think all of this is just about money. It's a bigger picture. It's not just.
It's a much bigger picture. I think there's an old Time magazine interview with him in 2018 or 19 where he just predicts this entire thing.
Yeah. He did a TED talk, which I think has been pulled now, where I remember listening to that TED talk where he said, if really used properly and applied properly, can help reduce the population. And I was like, what? Wouldn't it do the opposite? And he just carried on. Nobody and they gave him a round of applause after his 20 minutes. They've pulled that, I think. I don't think I can find it anymore. He's like, we'll reduce population. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
what it will do. Not immediately, but you'll have another thing coming in. because what I've noticed with this particular thing is people are not connecting the dots. They're having it, getting very, very sick and going, it's nothing to do with that. I've known a lot of people going, it's nothing to do with it. And I'm like, where is your intuition? Where are you?
Well, I think psychic implants can cause a lot of interference with that.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, back to the moon. It's all part of the control structure. And this, I think, is all part of the control structure
I
as well.
think so
It's
too.
people in the control. And I feel I had a very strong dream as it was being rolled out that it had negative alien AI in it. And there's a lot of evidence coming out with all kinds of weird stuff. You know, people, I remember seeing a video of someone holding a magnet over their arm and all this kind of stuff kind of coming out. And I showed it to someone who's a bit embedded in 3D. He goes, oh, conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy
I'm like,
theories.
that's a video, man. What's in his arm? What's in that arm wiggling around? You know, they go, no, I don't see anything. Fingers in the ears. No.
The CIA has sold us on conspiracy theories, and now it's a very easy way to dismiss anything you don't want to believe.
Totally. And most people are sleepwalking, and they just want to listen to the chat shows and the news and go, yeah, we don't want to listen to Rachel and this crazy guy Steve talking about the moon. You know, let's host another party on the new moon. And I mean, I don't mind people hosting I used to host them myself. It's really the magical stuff that's the problem. Not, you can have a party on the full moon if you want to. You can do all that. You can put your crystals under the full moon if you want to, but don't work magically with the moon. Don't meditate
like
on the
new
full
moon manifestations, things like that.
Yeah, full moon and dark moon. A lot of people are doing that and then wondering why they're not really very happy.
Well, I think the moon is beautiful, and it's fine to look at the moon and say how beautiful it is. I think it reminds people of real moons, that not satellites, in their past lives and connections that they had with a real moon deity that's not overtaken, you know, that's of a higher vibration.
Yeah, the moon looks beautiful at night. You know, I'd look at it and go, it's quite lovely. You know, I look at the stars and I think how beautiful the stars are. And the moon, you know, even if it's an unnatural object and even if there are bases on it, it's still pretty cool, you know. And maybe one day light beings will take over the moon and we'll have little parties on the moon going, hey, let's, you know, build a little condo here and have fun.
That would be great. And very possible. I mean, as we go to Ascension, all that fourth dimensional should fade away, right? Eventually. So
I think a lot of the technology that the deep state have will eventually be used for light. I think what's happening is a lot of the technology is slowly being revealed. Med beds and spaceship technologies and other technologies. I mean, they have the technology, for example, free energy technology and fusion energy. They have the technology to get rid of oil and gas. But why get rid of it when you're making billions? You know, why leave it alone? You know,
we've had technology for at least 20 years on how to build roads that don't eat up your tires. But you know, it's a great business, tires.
Yeah, great. Well, it's all about money. I remember hearing a NASA scientist, an ex-NASA scientist, in the mid-90s. I was not into conspiracy theory in the mid-90s. Come and do a talk in London saying about free energy devices. And I was like, hey, this is really cool. So free energy device, you put a little bit of energy to get it going. And once it gets going, it doesn't need any more energy. It generates energy. And I'm like, hooray, so there's all the technologies there. There's all these scientists around the world working for it. And I went to a conference in, I don't know where it was, maybe Hawaii, or I don't know where it was. And he said, look, here's 30 scientists from around the world, all coming together for a big photo shoot, all working on free energy. And then he said to the audience, how many of these guys do you think are still alive? This was 3 or 4 years ago. He said, this was 4 years before. And I was like, what does he mean? Well, why wouldn't they all be alive? He said only 8 out of 30 were still alive. Most of them fell out of high-rise buildings accidentally, something like that.
Oh, sure.
And I'm like, and I was saying, what's he trying to say? You know, my mind was kind of like, I can't compute this. Can't compute this. And then when 9/11 came, I realized people had the same problem. They can't compute. The government story must be real, even though it doesn't add up in any shape or form. We accept it because anything else would shift reality too much.
I think that's really it. If you are going to face the reality of any of this, then you have to be prepared to radically change, to shift, and it can be very hard on people. Not everyone's willing to do it.
Oh, it's like the Matrix is red pill, blue pill. You
Yeah, I was
can't
about to
wake
say
up
that.
someone who's been in there for too long. You know, do you
Yeah,
remember this? Morpheus apologized, saying we don't normally wake people up who's been there too long. It's too difficult on the
that's
mind.
right. We just watched it with my 10-year-old.
Oh, the first one.
Yes.
Oh, because the fourth one's coming out soon, isn't it?
I was like, we should watch this documentary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I remember walking down the street in London the morning before 9/11 happened, the day of 9/11, before it happened, and I felt this. Whoa, what's that in my body? And it took me a while. I'm in shock. This was hours before it hit. I'm in shock. And then my mother was very badly ill on that day, and I had to phone the ambulance to come and get her, or the doctor to bring the ambulance to take her to the hospital. And I was on the phone, and the TV was on, and I looked, and the plane just went, and I was like, whoa, what's that? And my mother, who was just kind of gone, really, she said, it's nothing. And I went, no, that is something. And then she was taken to the hospital. I remember going in the hospital with her, and over again, you see in the hospital screens, the planes going, they played it over and over again. I'm like, and then the stories came out about guys with penknives, and all of this hijacking. And I didn't know, but I just felt this is not that. Something else has happened. And that's, I never got into conspiracy. That was my first introduction, because I then started researching, going, what is it? And I put a group up on the Evil Facebook going, conspiracy theory, conspiracy facts. And it wasn't saying anything what was true. It was just saying, what do you think? I've seen this video. What do you think about this? I got banned and thrown off from Evil. That was in 2002, I think. Evil Facebook threw me off.
Oh my
2003
gosh.
or something. I can't remember when it was, but they threw me off because they didn't like it.
No, they don't stand for any that.
No.
It's what the media says or nothing.
Yeah, this is the script, if you follow it. So now if you go on my Facebook channel, it's all love and light and beautiful stuff. But if you come on my webinars and in my social media group, I've got my own social media platform now, like I'm Big Brother on my own one. We've got a open group. People can say what they like, and what they've done is they've driven it all underground. People are collecting in all kinds of groups everywhere to go, what's really going on here? Because in a democracy, debate is one of the foundations of democracy. Where's democracy gone? It's stopped, and no one seems to care, really.
It's true. Well, everyone has been driven by fear, and now they'll accept anything, or they're desperate to get back to the way it was. And they'll do anything to get back to the way it was. But, we can't go back. Our eyes are open. I mean, just remember 2019, we were like, Ascension is close, but we see nothing. What's it going to be? Is anything going to happen? And then now people are like, okay, things are happening.
Yeah, this is part of the Ascension process, and a necessary part. And there'll be more. It's not ended. It gets worse before it gets better, I think.
I think so.
People are really going to be shaken to the core and they'll be forced to look at reality. There'll be more stuff. I'm not quite sure exactly what it'd be, but it'd be dramatic. We're not at the end of it. So.
Same here.
But I feel it's a great time. I'm not wearing a mask, and I'm not going to get, and I'm having fun. And if there are places that say you can't come in without a pass, I say, well, up yours. And I'm going to go to the organic greengrocers down the road or whatever. I'm not coming to you anymore.
Right.
And
by excluding a community, we become our own community.
Yeah. It's forcing people to rethink the way they live, forcing me to rethink things. But there we are. It all ties into the moon. It's all part of the same. It's all part of the dark doing their little jig. And we have to see the jig and go, oh, we can see you doing your jig. And we're not doing that game anymore. And that's where it ends, really. When enough people see it, I think that's where starseeds are here to help people wake up, because they have a different energy. They have a different mindset. They've come from a place where there's different possibilities, and they know this place is insane.
Right. When you feel this can't be right.
Yeah.
Suddenly feeling different means something.
Yeah, and when you see the world with new eyes, you can't close them again. You can't, the Matrix where he says, I wish I'd taken the blue pill. I want to take the blue pill again. Was it that guy who...
That one guy, I was going to say that earlier. Yeah, he betrayed them so he could go take that blue pill and go back.
Go back. Be famous. I want to be an actor and rich.
Rich, famous, have power.
And asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we can go back. We can't go back to sleep. You know, can't go back to sleep. Don't want to go back to sleep. So anyway, it all ties in the moon. I hope I haven't wandered too far with
Yeah, I
and
love it.
evil Facebook and all of that, but it all kind
Well,
of
evil,
comes.
I'll have to do some creative bleeping.
Yeah, YouTube as well. Yeah, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
Well, tell us about your latest book.
Oh, latest book. Well, I've had 6 months of intense writing with the spiritual entrepreneur. Hey, I'm close again. Woo, that lovely. And it's a beautiful. I wanted to make it beautiful, so it's got lots of color in it. There's kind of big golden Metatronic cubes in there. You know, I like Metatronic cubes. And oh, here's one. And so there's there we are. You see that?
Ooh, wait,
Oh,
come in
there
there.
we go. There we are.
I love it. The Merkaba.
Yeah. So there's 4 sections in the book. And the first section is called, let's see, Open Door. Where are you? Open Door. And this is really at people at the beginning of the journey, because the journey is really fascinating. But, you know, we start right at the beginning. How do you start wherever you are at? How do you make the step, whether you do it as a leap of faith or go part-time? There's all of that. Then the second section is called An Open Mind, which is really about resistance, the nature of resistance, and how to go beyond resistance into flow and visibility and a load more stuff there. Purposeful direction, following your bliss. The third section is the open channel. This is really about the masculine and the feminine, the deep feminine and the wild masculine. And when we synergize them, because a lot of entrepreneurs either are very masculine, let's kill the competition, let's have a strategy. I've read a few Yang books and I'm like, oh my God, are you still doing that kind of thing? And then there are very yin ones that are coming on the market, which are just, you know, put your crystals in a certain order, bless the universe, pray, you know, finger to the wind, let's hope it works kind of thing. And
That's usually my style.
what you need to do is to unify the two in the sacred marriage. We need the masculine analytical strategy, planning, focus, discipline, and you need the feminine intuition, imagination, you know, all of that stuff. Strong connection to the inner world. It creates a great synergy. It creates a great flow, and it creates a win-win game. And then the last section is called Open Flow, which is really about the spiritual rules of the universe, the ones which are coming online, how to vibrate your business, stream your business, align your business. There's other chapters in the language of light language, and there's a section on using light language to up your business. And yeah, and there's loads of resources, loads of links in there that links to my own kind of meditations where relevant and other stuff. So yeah, I'm quite pleased about that. It's really happy about that.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Anyone with a spiritual business, coaches, therapists, healers, you know, it tells what I've learned over my last 30 years as a director of a spiritual organization, and then my own, doing my own business. So yeah.
Well,
so
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming and talking about the moon.
Okay, my pleasure. That's all right.
That was
Bless
a great conversation.
Off she goes. May everyone's moon cycles be aligned more with the sun, and gradually, you know, releasing all that old programming from, what was it in the Bible, you know, where women are cursed in childbirth and all those old curses. Men toil in the fields and women are cursed to pain in childbirth. We have to release all those biblical stories. They're not good. You know, we have to go back to Eden.
Yes.
Have a chat to the angel with a flaming sword and go, we can come back now.
We will. We'll get there.
We want to get back. We're fed up being locked out. It's not very nice.
Right. Well, thank you.
All right, Rachel. Lots of love to you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Please like and subscribe, and see you next time.